What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassity. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares to set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with and others who survived their own nightmare. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you can come away with a nugget of something that'll help you knock down some of the prisons you built up in your own mind. All right. Welcome back, Nightmare Success In and Out listeners. It's where you come for what happens when your worst fear becomes your reality. How do you adapt, survive, overcome, set yourself free? Don't forget to follow, subscribe, share, like, comment. It just helps the show. Just don't sit there. Do some stuff. Okay, folks, today, this is a special bonus edition. I've got some Nightmare Success alums here, and we're here to talk about today the upcoming White Collar Conference. It's October 19th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Who do I have with me today? Well, I've got some white collar guys that are friends of mine. We all hang out together. So I've got Jeff Grant. For those who are playing the game at home, he was episode 78. Incredible story. He's the founder of the White Collar Support Group. It's called Progressive Prison Ministries also. And he's an ordained minister. He's an attorney at law that we're so proud of with the Grant Law. And I've got Bill Lavosi, who is episode 84 for those playing the game. And he's the deputy director of Progressive Prison Ministries, White Collar Support Group. He's also a certified life coach if anybody out there is needing that. And he's a good one. So let's jump into this, guys. Welcome.
Hey, Brent. We're here to give you some nuggets.
Some nuggets of wisdom.
Some nuggets. And what we agreed to in advance, okay, in our prep for this is that we were going to plug the White Collar Conference right up front. So let me
quick listeners.
So anyone who's going to log off fast, here we go, right? White Collar Conference 2024. It's on October 19th at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, and it's on Zoom, so it's virtual, and it's going to be 3 hours of amazing content. The first ever conference by white collar justice impacted people for white collar justice impacted people. And you can get more information and register at whitecollarconference.com. Now, that's an easy one to remember, folks. whitecollarconference.com. And if you go there right now, you can register. And we have all kinds of panelists and videos and all kinds of other things that are going to be happening, which we will talk about a little later on in this podcast.
We will talk about that. And it's easy. You go in there, you just click, you go, you register, and it's going to be fun. We've got some great panelists, but before we get into talking about that, I think it's interesting from the standpoint that this is the first white collar conference created by white collar people. Now, it's spread out all over the place. The American Bar Association, all these people, they'll pull these white collar people in and they'll say, hey, this is you guys, you can have a little bit of space. This is for us. This is what we are creating for ourselves. And a little bit of background though, Jeff, you've been doing this for a while. You and Bill have been around a while doing this. What got you into this space?
Pretty much the same thing that got you into your space, Brent. I mean, I came back from prison and I knew I didn't want anyone to have to go through what I went through, my family went through. And this was back kind of in the early days of internet, really. I mean, I'm back from prison 17 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
And, but when we first went through it 22 years ago, there was no information out there. We were just kind of suckers to the system. I mean, anyone who's a white collar person knows what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're a slave to the system. And so what we thought was if we could find a way or create a platform for people to share information and to share their experiences and support one another, kind of like in an AA meeting, but also share information, maybe we could tip the balance of power a couple of points.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of points is huge in this space.
Yeah.
Because, when the cards are stacked against us like 100-0, even having 2 or 3% of the power is a lot. And I think we've accomplished that, because not only do we share notes about what we're going through, but we share information about lawyers, about judges, about the system, about what's the best way to approach things. And the proof has been in the pudding, not only because we've had 425 meetings and we've been doing it for 8.5 years with 1,100 members, but the data actually shows us that we've been able to help people get better outcomes, better results. And that's what we're in the business for. And especially since it's free, it's
Right.
all volunteer. And people like you and people like Bill and people like me, we've been doing it for quite a while. For me, it's been, 15 years or so. Bill, about 10. And we love what we do. We love people. We love people who are going through these things and want to find a redemption story. And as we say, that the hardest part of this is not going to prison. The hardest part of it is having a redemption story.
Right.
And or a comeback story.
Comeback story. Whatever that is. And everybody's is different.
Yep.
And I think, I've seen, one of the things that attracted me so much to this, and you and I met each other by, I think it was Mike Morawski, who was a guest on this show. And he said, you got to talk to Jeff Grant with the white collar. I said, what is the white collar support group? And, as you just said, Jeff, I wish I would have found the white collar support group way before I found it, but I'm so glad I found it, because there's so many things. And I think one of the things about white collar people, we are a category, whether we want to be or not. We're part of this club. And, we have a hard time coming to, I need help. I need help. And because these are people that have been in control, or they've been in the CEO, or they've been an entrepreneur, they've been whatever. And that feeling of being in isolation is not a good place to be. And to be with people who have gone through experiences that you've gone through, that you don't feel like you're all on an island by yourself, all by itself is a better situation for you to just find that group. But then when you find that group, like you said, Jeff, you get into discussions, not just the Monday night, but all around that happens, because you meet these people and the ups and the downs and the victories and the losses and all those things that you go through, just because you are who you are, as you've been through what you've been through, is part of what that support group is. Bill, I think it's interesting because you and Jeff created and have been around each other for all this time. And I think it was the first time, what was it, like a few months ago, that you actually met each other in person. That just shows you how people can be in this support group. And you guys actually got together for the first time. What did you think of him in person?
He was much taller than me. And I'm not that short, but hey, no, Brent, you're right, because, I remember met Jeff by phone, and it was early 2014. So here we are 10 years later, and it was this past May. But I did want to circle back to something that you both were speaking about, is that, in this kind of club that we don't want to be in, we're also prey. And part of what drew me to this group was that it was not about, this wasn't transactional relationships.
Mm.
These are about helping yourself and helping your neighbor, in the broad sense, change for the better. Okay. And I really was attracted to the non-transactional nature of it. And to me, it's what made all the difference, because, you can go out and hire people to do stuff, but again, you're prey. You're being preyed on for, the last cent you have in your pocket to avoid what you think is going to be the worst thing in the world. And what you find here is a group of people who have come out the other side, or even who are in the midst of it, but are looking towards their future. They're planning their future. They're looking to rebuild their families and their relationships because of the decisions they made.
And I think that's a
It's
big
all
point.
relationship.
Yeah, and Bill, I
That's
think
what I love
it's yeah, and I think that's a big point. It's not just about the reentry part. There's a lot of people that we have on part of the group that are dealing with all the things that happen before you go into a prison term, but that is also something that we can help with. You know, that is there's so many steps that happen before that happens. And then there's all those steps that happen as you're getting ready to get out. And then there's the steps that happen for the reentry part, that all those things are packaged into the white collar support group. And I think it's important for people to know that it's not, oh, it's not for me, I'm not done yet. No, it doesn't matter where you are in the space. It's just space for you.
You know, Brent, I get calls from people all the time. In fact, most of the people I speak to, either as a lawyer or as a minister, or as someone who is has founded the support group, they don't know whether or not they want to join. They're afraid to join. Maybe it's not for them. They think they're doing so well. They've called up because they need a job. Sometimes it's their family members that call because the person most affected themselves are in like fight, flight, or freeze mode. And but almost everybody is either a business person or has been a business person, and they know that to become successful in business, you got to network. And I tell them, look, if you've got a network right now that's working for you, go for it, right? But most people have become estranged from their networks, so we just tell them pretty simply, listen, we're your network until you get another one. And
that's such a great point, Jeff, because networking never goes out of style, but you've got to have one. And there's a lot of great, interesting people that are part of our group that have a wealth of experience all around. And, you know, I guess that leads us into, who do we have that are going to be on these panels that are coming in? It's unreal. I mean, it's a rock star lineup of people that are going to be a part of these three panels we have. We want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let me tell you that. And thank you, Brent, for being on one or two of the committees that we put together. Because the most important thing for us about doing this white collar conference was that we treat ourselves with respect and dignity, and we put our best foot forward, and that way we can demand that other people do. I mean, if we're not going to treat ourselves that way, then what right do we have to expect anyone else to treat ourselves that way? So we went out and we put together really professional conferencing, professional graphics, professional copywriting, professional everything to put our best foot forward. And for those of you who've seen it thus far on our mailing lists or probably in your show notes, will see that, you know, we've done this right. I mean, we're as you said in the in the outset of the podcast here. The American Bar Association does a white collar conference. The Association of Certified Fraud Examiners does a fraud conference, and we want to be right up there with these conferences, but from our own point of view. So we got together and we tried to decide what the theme of the conference was going to be, and ultimately we decided that the theme was going to be starting over, out of isolation and into community, because that's what we've all go through. And for our first conference, we thought, you know, that's something that's going to really reach out to people, to the tens of thousands of people who have been prosecuted for white collar crimes or regulatory crimes. So, Bill, you want to kind of take it from there and start talking about some of the panels and who the panelists are?
Oh, sure. To your point, Douglas, I think a lot of people, when they one of the realities that they have to come away with is that this type of criminal justice journey does, in a way, require youth learning. You have a lot of talent, you have a lot of experience, but especially when if you have a conviction or you've come home from prison, it's very difficult, darn near impossible. You're not going to go back to where you came. But you have to marshal those talents, the skills, your work experience. Okay, you have to rebuild. You have to be willing to come out, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there. It's a little scary at first. It's easier to do when you have a community of people around you that support you. So that out of isolation, which is our first panel, Bill Baroni is hosting it. He's our moderator. Bill, as people may already know, is a former New Jersey state senator who was also prosecuted himself and was serving time until the Supreme Court overturned his conviction. But he's moderating a panel out of isolation. Elizabeth Kelly is one of the panelists. She's a criminal defense attorney working with people with mental health disabilities. We have Seth Williams. Seth is, for those who don't know, was the first African-American district attorney for the city of Philadelphia, who himself ended up prosecuted. And then we also have Erica Chung, who was or is the very prominent individual who blew the whistle on Theranos. But she is also dealing with a host of isolation issues because she's a whistleblower. So that's an incredibly diverse panel. And it's going to give us a real insight into some of the effects. And then we'll move into the next one. Jeff, you want to talk about the second group or add to that?
So, Brent, you want us to just go right through the panels, or
let's do, because I'm really proud of the people that are on. I mean, what we just named off there, these are incredible people that, that are going to be people that you want to tune in for, because they've got real stories and a lot to share.
Yeah, and just for the first panel, we're leaning into how to escape isolationism, how to overcome it, because obviously we as white collars, we go through this and we can feel isolated at any time along our journey. That's the thing. I'm 20 years in, and any given day, I could struggle to get out of bed. So having tools and having a community to help me through it is vital to my moving forward. Well, the second panel is, I have it written right up here. The second panel is healing through a supportive community. So we've gone out of isolation and into healing through a supportive community. And the moderator there is William Sansing. And William is a therapist in Mississippi, and he helps people who are going through all kinds of emotional issues, including criminal justice issues. On the panel, we have Father Joe Saccone. Joe was a divinity school classmate of mine, and he was the former sheriff of Bergen County, New Jersey. Got brought down in a campaign-related corruption issue.
Fascinating story. And of course, one of your guests on Nightmare Success went to seminary and is now a progressive Catholic priest, and doing incredible work out there for a lot of marginalized communities. Our second panelist is Naya Wilson. She's up in Massachusetts, and she was formerly a principal in a school and misused some funds there. Herself got brought down, has to restart her life, and is working in the nonprofit sector now and doing a beautiful job with her life, and a wonderful member of our community. And the last is Porsha Lauder. And Porsha
I think has also been a guest of yours, Brent.
Yeah, she's coming out this week as an episode. Yep.
And Porsha, I mean, came to our attention through her TED Talk, and again, an incredible story. Lives in Utah, in Salt Lake City area, and has a story of drug and substance abuse and being hurt in relationships over and over and over again, and had to find a way through it with her. I think she has 7 children, and how to navigate the world as someone who's been formerly incarcerated and find healing through that community and her various communities, including the AA community. Just an amazing story. So that's panel 2, and we think that a lot of people will be able to relate and find a lot of comfort and guidance in it.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about it too is that people don't realize that there are communities out there for them, whether it's ours or whether it's AA or a community group, that they can really rely on, or they can kind of lean on when they're having these difficult and traumatic events. And a lot of white collar people, for instance, tend to shy away from that stuff. Brent, as you said, a lot of white collar people are used to being in control. They're used to making all the decisions. And, very difficult for some men and women to say, God, I need it. And part of what we're trying to show in this panel is it's really brave if you do that. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of intelligence. It's a sign of knowing what you need. Okay, not pretending you don't need something.
Right.
Yeah, beautiful, Bill.
That's really true. And we have panel 3.
Well, right, Bill, I guess we're back to you, Bill.
All right. So this to me is as important as the first 2 are. A lot of white collar people, they're really looking at this because I want to get back to whatever semblance of normal I used to have. And to me, what's really interesting about this and the panelists we have is how the individuals, and I'm going to name them in a second, how they looked at the skill sets that they used to have or they accumulated over the years, and then take that and move that into the new part of their life. So I'm really happy to say that our own Jeff Grant is going to be the panel moderator, and who best to do that. And our panelists are Casey Early. She is a criminal defense attorney, and she's in Florida, correct, Brent?
She's in Florida.
She's in Florida. An incredibly just an amazing story. We have Jeffrey Abramowitz. He is now the CEO of the PD Green program. And I believe that is in the Philadelphia, Princeton area, but they're across the country in different markets. And then we have Jeff Workman, who's formerly an attorney, and he is now putting his skills to use at the Fortune Society in New York. Now, these are all incredibly talented people who have had to reinvent what it is they're going to do. And that's where people, I believe, need the inspiration.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big panel with big people who've done big things and been brave. I'm sure that they got to where they are through their reentry by reaching out and figuring out both networking and what they needed and humbled themselves to get the help they needed. So our keynote is
are you going to leave this one to me, Brent?
Okay, I'm just going to say that David Israel, we'll be releasing David Israel's podcast right after the October 19th White Collar Conference. But I had the opportunity and the privilege to interview this man, and man, what a keynote he's going to be. But Jeff, welcome. Tell us about David.
Now the reason the reason I didn't introduce panel 3 is because so that Bill could talk about me.
Yeah, exactly right.
Of course.
So the
Of
reason
course.
why I have to announce the keynote is that I can talk about you. Because Brent Cassity is going to be interviewing David Israel as a fireside chat for the first portion of our conference. And that's by design, because Brent is an important part of our community, and his podcast is an important part of our community. And we want to make sure that we're digging into the things that are going to be truly helpful for people when they are audience members of this conference. So this is not really about David Israel's story, although his story is incredible. You can see that on the podcast that I'll be releasing a couple of days after. But this is really about how has David been able to be successful after prison, and what are the takeaways that you can learn from that? I mean, and why should I spend 3 hours of my time on a Saturday morning tuning in to this conference? And the answer is because everybody who is either a speaker in this conference or a panelist has somehow overcome something and has takeaways and tips that you can use. And that's right from the beginning. That's right from the very beginning, where David Israel is going to be interviewed by our own Brent Cassity. And of course, I would be remiss to say, to leave out also that our host for the conference is our own Craig Stanlin, a brilliant speaker, coach, and he calls himself a reinvention architect. And he'll be emceeing and squiring us through each of the various components. We are going to have videos, including world premiere of some videos in between the panels, which we're not going to tell you about right now, but they will be there. And of course, Bill Lavolsi, the third member of our trio here on, will be also doing our closing remarks and be telling us, giving us some takeaways, and also be dropping a few hints as to what's in store post-conference, so that we have definitive takeaways and we have projects to work on together as a white-collar community for the next year until White Collar Conference 2025.
Good stuff. And if Craig was here, he'd say, why should you do it? What do you get? Well, you get all of this with all these different people, and you're not going to be dissatisfied, because all of these different people have bits and pieces that you can take away and just implement. I always say the best thing to do, it's like getting the answers to the test. If you humble yourself and you look for people that are getting it right, and then you take that and you push it back into your life and implement it, it's truly like getting the answers before the test. And these people have extraordinary stories of overcoming. And the reason why this is something that you're going to just need to tune in for, because it's important, is you'll get something from it. And I know those people out there, and this is also for family members, they could be struggling through this. It could be a mom or dad, that have actually gone through, but it could be a son or daughter or whatever that needs to hear how are they getting through all this, and it's there's something in there for everyone. So
real quickly, Brent, let me just say that it is open to everyone. So it's open for professionals. It's open for family members. Anybody can join at whitecollarconference.com. We have incredible sponsors so far, and we're looking for more sponsors, because you can never have enough sponsors. And we are blessed and grateful to have the AmLaw 50 law firm of Paul Weiss as our lead sponsor. Paul Weiss, for people who don't know, has a huge and important white-collar defense practice, as well as many other practices. So thank you to Paul Weiss and all the lawyers and professionals there. Some of our other sponsors are Resource Associates, who write grants. Elizabeth Kelly, she is an attorney who's going to be one of our panelists. Of course, Nightmare Success, In and Out podcast is one of our sponsors. Good Planet Foods is one of our sponsors. The Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, Schneider Downs, an accounting firm in Columbus, Ohio. Law firm of Elliott Kwok, Levine, Jarislaw, and Niels in New York City. Jeffrey Lichtman, an attorney in New York City. Let's see, Charles Nozelski, CMN Advisors in New York City, and Linus Law in Connecticut, many others. But we could use a lot more sponsors, and we have people who are contacting us every day now, and so we'd be happy to have you support us, and of course we will support you in return.
What else, guys, before we close and round this up in our little round table that this is a first, we might do this some more.
Yeah. I definitely want to touch on the fact of the people that we have on the panels and the moderators. And I think a lot of people in our white collar world here think that there is a silver bullet, that there's a prescription to finding your way through, or an answer to solve all the problems. And the thing that you will come to realize is after you attend, you listen to the people who are the panelists, there isn't one right way. But when you listen to them, I happen to know most of them, you're going to learn that you have the skills there. You just have to learn how to apply them. Okay. And these individuals can show you, based on their unique situation, this is what I did, or this is what I'm doing. This is how it's working. And that, to me, is a huge benefit for
It's a great way to put it, too. Yep.
You could take the easy way out, folks. Write a check to someone, and they'll promise you the world. But we promise you that there is no substitute for putting the work in. And anyone who tells you that they can relieve the pain, that the pain's going to go away soon, and that can happen by writing a check, they're lying to you, because the pain is not going to go away soon, no matter what happens. This is something you got to work your way through, and it takes a long time for all of us, and all of us are still working on it. But together we find comfort, and together we find the resources to be able to get through it. And that's what this conference is about. That's what the White Collar Support Group is about. And that's what Nightmare Success is about.
That's exactly everything connects. All the dots connect. So just real quick, whitecollarconference.com, go there, register, get yourself in. And if you want to try us out on Monday night. You know, it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's right.
6 p.m. Central.
That's right.
And then whatever that is for Pacific.
That's right. Like in the back of a New York City.
It's 4 o'clock, but I get so messed up with.
In the back of a New York taxi cab, it says, right? It says, can't hurt, might help.
Can't hurt, might help. There it is.
That's right.
Good way to end that, Jeff. Everybody, Jeff, Bill, thanks for being on. We're looking forward to this, and hopefully everybody can get on here and spend some time and get something out of it. Talk about being grateful. Homestead Financial helps me have this podcast room here. And if you need home mortgage needs, Greg Afdiev is your guy. As I used to say to my people when I was writing my emails back and forth from Leavenworth, stay strong. I'll do the same. Jeff, Bill, thank you.
Blessings to everyone.
Thank you.
See you Monday night.